Welcome again to the storytelling bits. Finn and Rose's adventure to the casino planet is not exactly popular. It is a sidestep from the main plot and takes up quite a bit of screen time. It's one of the reasons why The Last Jedi clocks at about 2.5 hours. Not to say that long runtimes are a bad thing, just as long as the movie is able to remain engaging. And that, ladies, gentlemen, and everything in between, is not the case with Canto Bight.
Know this town? Canto Bight?
From stories.
It's a terrible place filled with the worst people in the galaxy.
Great.
The entire sequence stems off from Poe, Finn and Rose hatching a plan to try and board Snoke's ship, but they need a master codebreaker to do it. Through a brief appearance by Maz Kanata, they are told that they can find one on a planet called Canto Bight. There they end up in a casino-like compound where this supposed codebreaker is gambling his way to the good life. So far, the plan is going well. Finn and Rose land their ship on the beach and make their way into the casino where they try their best to find this fellow within the mass of men and aliens alike. Then things go bad. Both for our heroes and for the quality of this entire sequence. Finn and Rose are arrested because they parked their ship on the beach and are thrown in jail. Seems kind of extreme for simply parking in a bad spot, but that's just me. Of course, it is necessary because in that jail cell, they meet the secondary codebreaker named DJ. Now before I continue on discussing the legitimacy of this entire sequence, I want to add how detrimental this small bit is, even on its own. Telling a story revolves around a conflict. This is not a conflict as in a fight or a discussion. No, a conflict in a narrative comes from a character having a goal. The story is about getting to that goal. Of course, he or she is obstructed into achieving this goal often more than once, or else the story would be boring. This is what it means to have conflict in a narrative. Finn and Rose have a goal, which is finding the master codebreaker. They are obstructed in that goal when they are arrested and thrown in jail. Getting around this obstruction should come from the character. Their skill, personality, ingenuity, things like that is what they use to get around the conflict. Characters move the plot forward. That's how a story works. But in this case, Finn and Rose coincidentally land in the same jail cell as DJ, also a codebreaker. Finn and Rose's goal is achieved by coincidence. One of Disney's Pixar's rules of storytelling is, coincidence can get your characters into trouble, but it can't resolve the trouble, because that is cheating. You see the problem here? Now, I wouldn't find this as much of an issue if Finn and Rose used their skill to break out, but even that is not the case. It is done by that same codebreaker. Finn and Rose follow and then break free the Faviers, those foxy horse-looking things, and then trample through the city with them. They end up on a cliff, trapped, again with no way out. And who shows up to save them? The codebreaker. BB-8 is there too, but that doesn't make it any better. Twice now, Finn and Rose have been able to get out of trouble through coincidence. Do you understand how weak that is in terms of a narrative?
I don't believe it.
Is why you fail.
Finn, Rose, DJ and BB-8 end up on the Supremacy where they are stopped just before reaching the power breaker for the lightspeed tracker. Unfortunately for them, Nazi BB-8 spotted them. Because of this, DJ bargained with the First Order off screen and betrayed the Resistance for freedom and fat stacks. This leads to the annihilation of a few transports. That's where we have our problem with this entire sequence. It does not contribute to the main plot of the movie. All it does in the end is thin the numbers of the Resistance further. But the actions of Finn and Rose do not alter the paradigm, which is the Resistance escaping the First Order by heading to Crate. That still happens. Take Canto Bight out of the movie entirely and everything will still happen the way it did. The Resistance just ends up having more men on Crate if DJ would never have been able to betray them. You see the issue. The whole subplot takes up a big chunk of screen time but ultimately changes so very little. You see, what I think the problem here is, at its core, Rian Johnson simply couldn't figure out what to do with Finn. We've talked about out-universe reasons in the previous video, which are all about the legitimacy of your story. But you can use that on a micro level as well. The out-universe reason for a scene or even a single shot to be there is always about its legitimacy. With that in mind, the out-universe reason for the Canto Bight sequence is for DJ to be pulled into the plot and betray the Resistance. That's fine, that can work. Except, it doesn't do very much. Like I said, it doesn't alter the paradigm. DJ's actions don't alter the Resistance making it to Crate. There's also a thing to be said about the fact that the First Order didn't simply torture DJ for the information, rather than setting him free and paying him. but I don't want to get too distracted here. So while weak, the out-universe reason is getting DJ into the plot. So what actually happens to make that happen from the inception of this plotline? Finn and Rose establish that the lightspeed tracker is on the supremacy. They want to turn it off. Here we have our goal. In order to do this, they need to physically enter the supremacy and shut it down. In order to do that, they need a master codebreaker to bypass the supremacy shields. In order to do that, they need to get the master codebreaker who is on Canto Bight and find him in the casino there. Things turn awry, DJ is introduced, and through some extensive breakout scenes we are back in the main plot with DJ tagging along. They infiltrate, Nazi BB-8 spots them, they are caught, DJ betrays them, and so Rian Johnson has us where he wanted us. The First Order is able to fire at the cloaked transport ships thanks to DJ's information.
If they blow you up today, you blow them up tomorrow. It's just business.
Another issue that the Canto Bight sequence creates is interrupting the more prominent narrative. A momentum is created from the start of the film with the First Order chasing the Resistance. Next to that, we have Rey, Kylo's and Luke's development. The Canto Bight sequence adds unnecessary scenes that take away from that momentum, undercutting the far more impactful scenes between Rey, Luke and Kylo. Finally, we have Rose shoehorning in some backstory to her character, talking about the First Order profiting from the poor. After that, DJ adds that the Resistance is not holy either, as they buy from the same arms dealers that the First Order buys from. In other words, war is a money-making business. An interesting theme on its own, but completely out of place in this movie. A theme is something that is introduced early in the story and returns constantly throughout said story, from the beginning until the end. Poe's lack of leadership skills, though flawed in its execution, is at least a constant recurring thing throughout the movie. Rey dwelling over her parents and Luke sobbing due to his failures are recurring themes as well. Not perfect, but not haphazardly thrusted in there like the ones from Canto Bight. So to round this topic off, the result of the Canto Bight sequence does not justify its length nor place within the established pace of the movie. The sequence accomplishes very little and the narrative within is significantly flawed. Next to that, it does not align well with the other themes that are established early on. This makes the scene feel out of place, like it should belong in an entirely different movie. Everything that I just summed up, all these issues, they are the reason why the Canto Bight sequence is so heavily criticized. Thank you for watching this episode of the Storytelling Bits. Did I perhaps miss something, or do you simply not agree with what I said? Please, feel free to leave a comment below. I love a good discussion, especially about storytelling. All I ask of you is that you keep it civil. This is YouTube, I know, but I'm still asking you all the same. Next episode, we'll be looking at why the Canto Bight sequence came into existence in the first place. That being the awful communication between Poe and Holdo. Consider leaving a like and subscribing if you'd like to see more. That is a wrap for now. Until the next story. Cheers.